Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me is my buddy, Marc Souza. Hello, my friend.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Now we're going to have a lot to talk about in the world of baseball. And
wait, what? There was a baseball game yesterday? No.
It was the World Series, man.
Wait, whoa. Shh, Why do they call it the World Series?
It was the World Series.
Why do they call it the World Series if it's a game that's only played in the United States and some parts of Canada?
Be professional right now. You gotta get it ready for this. Come on. You're embarrassing me.
Shouldn't it just be called the
you're embarrassing me.
United States Series?
Stop it.
Shouldn't the winner of the World Baseball Classic be the World Series winner?
Stop it.
Are you going to address any of my concerns?
You're embarrassing me.
All right,
we're moving on. I had to make a talk to him. I mean, he's kind of so how the World Series works is
World Series 101 with Jeff. All right, class in session. Let's go. I got my notes.
It started in the the late 1800s. Oh my God, you're actually right.
The late 1800s, they played this game called Rounders.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah, I think so.
It sounds like a weird saloon. Anyways, let's actually move on to real news.
It's actually a good movie with Matt Damon. It's a gambling movie.
I thought it was too good to be true. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
And Ed Norton.
Why would they call it Rounders when it's a base and you hit it with...
Great movie, by the way. Rounders, Ed Norton, Matt Damon.
Stop promoting movies.
Sorry.
If you want to check
we don't
out
get paid by that.
We do our movie pod. If you have we have a movie podcast, I believe.
We don't do it, but we do it.
Yeah, GSMC Podcast Network does it. So check that out.
So there was a game that happened last night. I'm sorry, I just threw you off.
You really...
Can you break down what happened last night and give us the good summary? Go ahead, Jeff. I will shut up now.
The Red Sox beat the Dodgers in Game 1 of the World Series. And that's it.
Give me more. Give me more.
Clayton Kershaw pitched 4 innings, gave up 5 runs. It was 8-4.
Okay.
Chris Sale, both starting pitchers actually pitched only 4 innings, which is kind of a short, all things considered, for a
We were
World
supposed
Series
to get
game.
a pitching duel, Jeff. That's what I paid for.
We got a hitting massacre, mainly from the Red Sox.
I hate runs.
What?
I like strikeouts and pitching. And
What
defense.
has gotten into you today?
Coffee.
Gosh, all right. Anyways, what was I saying? I was saying...
Red Sox 8-4, both pitchers struggled.
Yes, both pitchers struggled. Nunez hit a 3-run bomb to really put the game away for the Red Sox in the late innings. And it was mainly all Red Sox. The Dodgers did have a fighting comeback. They had it down by 1 run at one point, 5-4. But then Nunez with that 3-run bomb really sealed it. And this game was all Red Sox. And with Game 2 coming in, with David Price coming in with the game of his life against the Astros in Game 5 of the ALCS.
Of his life.
And going into this game probably with a lot more confidence than he has ever had, this could get out of hand for the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, we don't need to move on to Game 2 already. Let's talk about Game 1.
Well, I'm saying that would you worry after a performance like that and you're facing off against another good pitcher?
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about a 108-win team here. So the Red Sox...
And they're playing the 92-win team in the Dodgers.
Exactly. Both teams are good, but the Red Sox have been the most dominant team.
The Dodgers barely won their division.
But they won their division, so let's give them credit.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So, we'll talk about what did you see last night? I mean, other than the pitching, what was your take? What was your feeling?
The Red Sox are playing their best baseball right now, and since they are the best team in baseball, if you play your best baseball, no one's going to stop you.
Yeah, it looks like the Red Sox are the most balanced team in the major leagues, and last night I think they showed it because They didn't have a great pitching performance by their ace, Chris Sale. He didn't have a night that he will remember forever in terms of being on top of his game, shutting down his opponent, all that. But he will remember it because his team won. He did enough to keep his team in contention, and he did let his bats, his teammates, handle last night. Because my takeaway from last night's game was the Red Sox are relentless.
Oh, yeah.
They get up early on Kershaw. Credit the Dodgers. They come back. They tie it up. Then the Red Sox, again, step on the gas. They take the lead. Again, the Dodgers come back. So you're thinking, okay, Dodgers have momentum now. They might win this game. No. The Red Sox again step on the gas pedal.
I said that, no.
Red Sox again step on the gas pedal. They go up 5-3. Then the Dodgers come back and score a run. Then they're down by 1. You're thinking, man, this team will not go away. They might win this game. They might take it to a bullpen game. They might steal one here at Fenway Park. But again, Nunez comes in the game. He hits a 3-run homer. Just a back-breaking hit by the Red Sox given to the Dodgers because the Dodgers had fought so hard. They had overcome Clayton Kershaw having a struggle-filled game like he has been known to have in the postseason. We'll talk about him in particular next segment, Jeff, because I know you want to talk about that. But, I mean, what I got from last night was how relentless the Boston Red Sox are. That lineup, 1 through 9, is devastating, especially when you consider JD Martinez as your DH, in addition to all the great field players that they have who can also hit the ball and defend. Very good defensive team. I just don't know. If you're a Dodgers fan, I feel like we gave them our best shot last night and they knocked us out. Like that's how I feel. Like if it was a boxing term or an MMA term, like I feel like I fought my game. Like I feel like I fought my best game, but I still left knocked out. You know what I mean? Like
you still left defeated.
Yeah, I think it's disheartening. I think it's disheartening because every team has bad games, and when you lose a bad game, it's easy to say, you know what? Let's shake it off. We'll brush it off. We didn't hit well last night. We just had an off game. But I don't think the Dodgers did have an off game. I just think they were beat. And they were beat soundly by a team who's good. And they continue to show why they're the best team in baseball.
Maybe it's hard to accept the fact for Dodger fans and Dodger players, but the Red Sox are just a better team when you're looking at all aspects of the game. And I know that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. But the fact of the matter is the Red Sox are just they're playing their best baseball. They have 104 wins, 8 wins on the season. And you can't, when the team's rolling like that, you can't stop them. They are on a roll that's so big that you just hope to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Especially when a guy coming off the bench like Nunez hits a 3-run bomb, like the guy you don't expect to hit a home run, but yet he's hitting home runs also. When the bench is also playing well,
it's got to be disheartening. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's a huge blow to morale.
It's like we're talking about, you start off with Betts, Benintendi, even a guy like Pierce, Martinez, Bogarts. Like these guys are big hitters, right? Like these guys can make things happen. You don't even think about Nunez. I mean, when Kershaw's game planning for the game, he probably spent very little thinking about, the pitching staff in general. They probably spent very little time on Nunez.
God, everyone panicked. Nunez is up to bat.
Not that he's not a good player, because he's a very good utility player.
He's a more defensive player anyways.
He's a good utility player. You can play him at short, third, second, first even. He can run a little bit. He can hit a little bit. He's more of a contact hitter, but he can hit with some power sometimes, and it's just a guy that you think, okay, like finally we have some relief in the order, like instead of, oh, yes, we don't have to face Mookie Betts this at bat, we get Eduardo Nunez, okay. No, 3-run homer, boom, game over. And what I found very interesting is that Alex Cora and Dave Martinez or Dave Roberts, have played on the same team and coached on the same team. with the Red Sox and the Dodgers before this, which is interesting. So they have a
So there's some story, there's some history there.
Yeah, they play together with the Red Sox, and then they coach together with the Dodgers. Isn't that interesting? They also both played with the Dodgers too. But
It's fascinating.
yeah. So, with that being said, Boston. You thought Boston was going to win last night, right?
Yes, we both did.
Yeah. I said it was going to be 6-3. It was 8-4. It was close. That was close prediction, but it was kind of what I thought. What I told you yesterday was that it was going to be 3-3. I actually did tell you this, and that the bullpen of the Dodgers would fall apart, would lose this game, and that's kind of what happened.
It was more of the
Kershaw got charged the runs, but Madsen's one who gave the runs.
Yeah, but I think Kershaw is more at fault, in my opinion.
Well, we'll talk about him in detail next segment, but again, the Dodgers bullpen, their starters in this game have to do better than what Kershaw did last night. Can we agree on that? Because
Absolutely.
Their bullpen is not shut down.
5 runs from your starting pitcher, that should not be happening.
But I'm saying, let's take Kershaw away from this equation. Ryu, Walker Buehler, Rich Hill if he starts. These guys are going to have to give them 5 or 6 innings each game and give up less than 3 runs, or they don't have a chance, in my opinion, because their bullpen is not going to be able to shut down the Red Sox for 2 games in a row. You know,
That is a tall order right there.
Yeah, maybe one game the Dodgers pen will come in and shut it down, but you wouldn't bet that this bullpen would shut down these hitters 2 games in a row in a tight game. So I think that's what we will need to see from the Dodgers if they want to. I don't even say win the series. I think if they want to make this competitive, it needs to start with Ryu and Walker Buehler and Rich Hill and go from there. Because you know what? Give the Dodgers credit. I felt like they hit the ball well last night. They made Sale sweat. He didn't have a great game. I thought they did their part, but they didn't really get help from their pitching staff.
Yeah, and that's how. Like we talked about this before the postseason even really began. The bullpen is the most crucial part of a World Series team, and if your bullpen's not performing to a high standard, then you're not going to win many games. You're not going to get very far. And the Dodgers have gotten to this point, yes, but if their bullpen doesn't play as a World Series team, like doesn't really hold off the Red Sox when they have a hitting barrage, they're not going to win any games, let alone just one, let alone the whole series.
Yeah. So after game 1, you're feeling like this could be a very short series.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, we should. I think we should take a break. When we come back, let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. We'll talk about his postseason struggles.
Good.
I have an interesting stat. We'll see what else we can pull up for you guys here.
Ooh, stats.
I'll let you know about his struggles. I mean, everybody talks about it. It's one of those things where, you know, it's people just say that, but a lot of times people don't really know what they're saying when they say things. Like it's, you know, just one of those things you hear and you repeat and never think anything of it. So does he really struggle in the postseason? We will take a look. We'll talk about if he can recover and maybe win his next start. We don't know if that'll be game 4 or game 5 or game 6.
Most likely game 5.
Could be game 4, but we'll see.
Really? Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
It could be. With the rest in between.
You want to hear us talk about it? Hold on tight. We'll be right back right after this.
Yep.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We just finished talking about Game 1 of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Red Sox. Now we got to go into more detail about Clayton Kershaw, because he's been known as a great regular season pitcher and Cy Young winner and all this, but the fact of the matter is he has a pretty weak postseason performance under his belt, and that's not just his first one. He's not known for his postseason performances, and would that be a factor in his legacy?
Yeah, if he doesn't win a championship, I mean, I think in baseball, championships are less important than maybe other sports when it comes in terms of legacy, since it is, especially for pitchers, like people will always revert back to what they did on the mound, like how many strikeouts do they have, how many wins did they pile up, ERA, things like that. But I mean, of course, man, like his legacy as of today, as a sports fan, a baseball fan, he's one of the greatest regular season pitchers of at least our generation. But yet, he continues to come up short in the postseason in games that matter.
When it matters most, exactly. That's the problem. Because when you look at Hall of Fame pitchers, you think of World Series pitchers like Don Larson. He threw a perfect game in the World Series. You think of, I mean, just recently, Madison Bumgarner had one of the greatest postseason performances of all time, people consider. And there's been like Sandy Koufax and Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling and all these legendary performances. And when you look at Clayton Kershaw, he doesn't have that legendary performance in the postseason that can be idolized, can be iconic.
Exactly. So, I mean, we thought last year that he had gotten over the hump, and then, you know, of course, Game 5 last year in the World Series, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 2/3. So his lasting legacy of last year was, again, that he struggled when it mattered the most, and then, you know, Game 1 this year, 4 innings pitched, 5 earned, 3 walks. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't gotten through 5 innings. He's giving up runs. I'm not sure, but I did want to give you this stat.
Go for it.
Kershaw has now given up 5 or more runs in 8 postseason games, which is the most in the history of baseball.
In baseball history.
So you can take that stat 2 ways. 1, he plays in a lot of postseason games.
Or 2,
2,
he
struggles in the postseason.
You can say both.
So I think that kind of shows his legacy in a nutshell right there, right? Like, he puts his teams in position to make the playoffs and get there because of his stellar regular season pitching performances. But when he gets there, something is different. Do you attribute this to possibly fatigue? I mean, it's the end of the year. He pitches a lot of innings.
No. Because there's been pitchers who play just as often as he does and get to the World Series, and they play even better in the World Series.
Granted, but what if he doesn't have the stamina as those pitchers? Like, what if he's just being overused and people aren't realizing it? Like his managers.
I don't know. When you're the ace of the lineup, you're going to be in a lot of games, and that comes with the territory. Like, you got to be mentally prepared for that. And he seems to be getting to his head more easily than most. Like, he gets wild up once he's struggling, and that causes problems. So
yeah, do you think? I mean, are you fairly confident that it's not fatigue based though? Like, I mean,
I don't think it's fatigue. I think it's more of a mental thing. It's a mental issue. Like when you let a run score, Kershaw kind of gets a little angry, like a little frustrated, but you can't get angry about that. You got to just get the next guy type.
He is very emotional. Yeah, which is. I will say that contributes to his problems in the postseason. Like, you can see him get visibly upset when he gives up a hit. Even if it's like, even if he has a batter 0-2 and he gives up a single, like a pitch, like, okay, yeah, maybe you should have thrown one in the dirt there or something like that, and he gives a hit, he gets very upset. And I wonder if that does kind of throw him off.
Oh, absolutely. Like, when you see just some other, like Roger Clemens, for example, he gets frustrated, he gets emotional, but when he's in the postseason, he doesn't show that emotion. He showed that one emotion with Mike Piazza in the World Series in 2000 when he threw the broken bat at him. But when he's actually pitching and he's giving up a hit, he doesn't let it get to him. He gets the next guy. Madison Bumgarner is the same way. He's very emotional in the regular season. When a guy hits a home run, he yells at him for looking at the ball and all that stuff. But when he's in the postseason, one hit, he's like a guy getting a home run, he gets the strikes out the next guy. Like, that's how you're supposed to come back from that. Like, you're going to give up a run or two. That's the part of the game. That's part of life.
Yeah.
And he thinks he needs to throw a perfect game every single time. And you can't have that emotion when you're, especially in the World Series, you gotta be stone cold.
You can have that goal, but yeah, you can't let, like, if you're not perfect, you can't let it snowball.
Now, does Tom Brady get emotional when he's in the Super Bowl? No. Like, he gets emotional when they win, yeah. But during the game, he's got the most calm demeanor out of anyone on that team.
And
they were down 28-3. He had the calmest demeanor, and they came back and won because of his demeanor.
He only threw 161 pitches this year. I mean, he was injured for a lot of the season.
Wait. Kershaw only threw 161 pitches all year?
Yeah, well, he's hurt. He had the back injury that kept him out 6 weeks. Like, he missed probably 7 starts, 8
But that's a lot of pitches. That's not a lot of pitches.
That's really low.
That's extreme. No, that's what I meant. That's a game and a half. All year? That's all year? Or that's postseason?
He only had 161 innings pitched all year.
Oh, I thought you said he had 161 pitches all year.
No.
Okay, I thought you said pitches. That's why I was like, that is the lowest I've ever heard of.
This kind of follows a trend for him, though. Since 2015, Jeff, where he pitched 232 innings, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. In his last 3 years, he's only pitched 149, 175, 161. He's had some to deal with injuries. He's had
some injury problems, yes.
He's had some problems staying healthy. So with that being said, I do want to go back to this point again. Are we sure, though, that it's not fatigue? Because he has pitched many years in this league. Of course, he's still young. I mean, he's younger. But he had a run of, 6 years where he was pitching about 200 or more innings. I mean, he had a 4-year run where he was pitching over 230.
That's a lot of games.
Are we just seeing, because we're seeing his velocity down. He's throwing fastball at 91, 92.
Do you think he's at the end of his career? Is that what you're trying to imply?
I mean, I wouldn't say the end of his career, but I think it's a question to be asked if he's past his prime. Because
that's definitely a thing to think about. Like, he's a great pitcher in the
last 3 years. He's been hurt, and his velocity's gone down. So I think it's a valid
question. He's still a dirty left-handed pitcher. You know what I mean? He still throws that dirty.
He's got great stuff.
He's got some
the slider,
nasty.
The changeup is. So good.
Those are still the nastiest in baseball, in my opinion. But the fact of the matter is,
the bottoming out breaking ball that he has.
It's gross. It's almost like you can't even look at it. It's so gross. It's like a prom picture that just breaks when you see it.
But we all know, as fans of baseball, when your fastball loses 4 or 5 miles an hour on the velocity, it can make your other pitches not be so successful.
His stuff is as ugly as my prom pictures. Like, my prom day was gorgeous, and I was just like,
You've been wanting to say that for a while, huh?
Kind of, yeah. Want to make a shout out to my prom day. Anyways, what was I saying?
You were saying that Kershaw and his nasty pitches, okay, but don't you agree, though, that if your fastball is down, it makes your other pitches look more hittable? Like, it's not as big of a difference.
Because you're going to be throwing that more often, and they're going to be seeing it more.
And there's a smaller difference in velocity between.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it's maybe not the velocity part, but I think it's like, you don't know if a fastball's coming or a breaking ball is coming. But if his velocity's down in his fastball, he's not going to use it that often. He's going to go back to the breaking ball more. He's going to go to that one too many times. And if you see it often enough, you're knowing what's going to happen, and you're going to get that hit more often than not, because you're not expecting a velocity like 96 mile an hour fastball. You're expecting a dirty breaking ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So
because when you see something more and more often, you're going to get used to it. You're going to understand it more. It's like studying. Mm-hmm. Study, kids.
Yeah, kids, if you're out there, please study.
For all our sakes.
Yeah.
For the future.
So I want to say that Kershaw is now 9-9 in postseason play.
9-9?
Mm-hmm. 9 wins, 9 losses.
That's a 500 is not very good in postseason, to be honest.
He has started 23 postseason games. He's 9-9 with a 4.28 ERA. Something is definitely different with Clayton Kershaw in the postseason. Now, we can argue if it's fatigue, we can argue that it's nerves, but we really can't argue that something else happens. I mean, we're talking about a guy, 4.28 in the postseason, and we're talking about a guy whose career a 2.73 ERA. That's a full 2 points.
That's frustrating, to say the least. Like, that, obviously something happens where he's not at his best when he's in the postseason, and that's not something you want out of your ace. Do you still consider him an ace, even though his postseason performance is still rocky?
2.73 ERA, he's an ace.
Yeah, but just like, he's not a postseason ace.
Maybe not, but he's an ace.
He's a regular season ace. If there's a postseason ace, I wouldn't put him up there. Like, if you need someone to pitch in like a Game 7 situation, I'm not picking Clayton Kershaw. If you could pick anyone in the baseball right now, who would you want to pitch Game 7? Anybody in the league.
Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
Would you pick Clayton Kershaw?
I would not pick.
Yeah,
Clayton
I would
Kershaw.
not either. I don't think even the Dodgers would.
Some people would pick Chris Sale, to be honest, and he didn't have a good game either yesterday.
Well, right now people might pick David Price also.
Yeah, because recency bias is definitely a thing. We forget David Price has had some struggles too.
Yeah.
In the postseason, and
he's only had one
good game.
good
We're
game.
talking about David Price being,
when you have that one good game, there's something that there's more confidence in you, and there's more of you're feeling really good. And his stuff was dirty on Game 5 of that ALCS. Some of those changeups look like they were going to hit, or the curveballs were going to hit a guy's head, and it goes right down the middle. Mm-hmm. Like that is some special stuff right there.
Kershaw, 2.39 ERA in the regular season. That's pretty incredible. You mentioned David Price, and that's interesting. We don't want to talk too much about him because we are going to preview tonight's game in the next segment, but he's got a career 3.25 ERA as a regular season pitcher, but in the postseason it's 5.04. And he's only, wow. Yeah, he just won, his first postseason game as a pitcher.
And he's been around a long time.
So what do you say about him then? Like, is he somebody who chokes in the playoffs too? Do you consider him?
Oh, yeah.
David
Price, he's just been on teams that have faced the best in baseball type of thing, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of bad luck for... no, I would still say David Price is not the best postseason pitcher, but I would put him in the same... now thinking about it right now, I would put him in the same category as Kershaw. It's just like guys who play well in regular season games but cannot get it done when it comes to the postseason. He had one good game, fantastic. He got over that big hump of not winning. Fact of the matter is he's still considered not a very good pitcher when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah. So he's had some struggles too. Do you think that Kershaw, if he pitches again in this series, which I'm sure he will, even if it's Game 4,
do you
think he will perform better? Do you think he'll bounce back?
I don't know, because we talked about his emotions getting the best of him, and that might happen again.
He talked about making mistakes last night. Obviously he made some pitching mistakes. His stuff is not as sharp as it's been in years past, but I don't know.
It's a difficult situation, that's for sure.
He is facing the best lineup that probably in baseball.
Hands down the best lineup in baseball.
You could argue some other teams have maybe a better lineup.
I would put Red Sox against anybody.
Right. But overall, the Red Sox are better than the Dodgers, but in terms of just a lineup,
the record speaks for itself. 108 wins to 92
absolutely.
Wins. That's almost 20 wins difference.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, again, another postseason game for Kershaw, and again, he's left fans of baseball doubting his postseason ability. I don't know. This is different though. This year's different for Kershaw because his velocity's down.
You're saying he's gotten worse?
Well, I'm saying that.
Or do you think he's relying too much on a breaking ball like we talked about?
I'm saying, if you would have asked me a year ago or 2 years ago, will Kershaw, win a World Series? I would have said, yeah, probably, even though he's already had some chances and he hasn't succeeded. But now my feeling is different because if his velocity doesn't come back, I don't know.
Are you saying this is his last chance to win a World Series?
It possibly might be. He has an option, He could opt out. If he opts out and the Dodgers say no, you've been a great pitcher for us, but we're not willing to pay you $30 million a season for what we think is going to be a shell of your former self as a pitcher, I could see that happening. The Dodgers have been in the business of making smart decisions the last couple of years, and with the signing of Manny Machado, maybe looking at other free agents.
This was like a all-in type of year.
Jeff, if you look at it, the Dodgers have young pitchers. You saw Julio Urias pitch last night. Walker Buehler. Couldn't you see them saying, you know what, we're actually going to go in a different direction. We actually prefer you to opt out. Go sign with the Yankees or somebody who's willing to give you $200 million because we don't want to pay you $30 million a year for a pitcher that used to be a Cy Young winner.
Right. But I'm going to ask you this. The NL West, just looking at the Dodgers' perspective, the NL West is getting weaker and weaker as the years go on.
You think so? I thought this year was pretty good, no?
Yes, but like when your top guys...
Diamondbacks, Rockies.
But when your top team is at 92 wins...
Yeah. It was competitive, but no standout team.
Exactly. Like there's decline there. Like
although the whole NL was kind of like that, right?
Yeah, but still, a 92-win team and they were barely making the playoffs, barely won their division. That's a bad sign, just for the future's sake. Like... There's been multiple teams, like the Giants and the Dodgers, the only teams that made the World Series in this last 20 years. Oh, I guess, you can add the Colorado Rockies to that also. But the fact of the matter is, and the Diamondbacks, I guess you're looking at 20 years. But the fact of the matter is, there's not like a team that's like, oh, this team is so good to win the NL West, or this team is so good to be the best team in the National League. They're always like there. They're just but they always just surprise people is the thing. They're never like the favorites. Mm-hmm. Like, the Dodgers weren't even the favorites going into this World Series.
I mean, but they're always a favorite kind. You know what I mean? Like, they're not favorites.
It's the Dodgers. They spend more than, they spend billions upon billions of dollars on players.
They're one of the top 5 payroll teams. Like, they're going to spend money, and they're a good team.
I just think the fact of the matter is the NL West has been I think they're going on a decline. Mm-hmm. Just looking at the win-loss record compared to others, is just, that's not, 92 wins is kind of average. That's like wild card level.
Yeah. So we'll go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to preview tonight's game, Game 2. We have a quick turnaround. As we know in baseball, you play pretty much every day, and then you have one day off, and then you do it again a couple times, and you have a day off, you do it again. So tonight, Ryu versus Price. We'll break down that game. We'll see who has the advantage. We'll give our predictions. We'll do that right when we get back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We just finished talking about Clayton Kershaw and his legacy after his Game 1 performance in a loss to the Red Sox. Now we're moving on to Game 2 of the World Series as David Price and the Red Sox faced Ryu and the Dodgers. This is in Fenway once again. Do you see another win for the Dodgers, the Red Sox, or do you see a tie series?
Who do we have pitching tonight, Jeff?
I just said David Price and Ryu.
All right, and how are each men performing as of late?
Well, Ryu's kind of been back and forth in the postseason, but overall, David Price had his masterful game of his life performance in Game 5, his last game in the ALCS against the Astros that clinched them a World Series bid. So the fact of the matter is, David Price has the more momentum out of the two going into this game.
Yeah, so Ryu is an issue for me. I'll just say it right there. I think David Price, he did exercise some of those demons last game with his brilliant pitching performance that pushed the Red Sox into the World Series. I am still a little concerned about David Price, though. I want to say that I think he'll get hit a little bit tonight. I think there'll be some runs scored by the Dodgers. We know the Dodgers can hit the ball. They have good bats in their lineup. But Ryu is a problem for me. I don't have too much confidence when I look at this pitching matchup because although Price, I think, can be touched up, and we know that Price in the postseason is a little bit like Kershaw. Wouldn't you agree with that? How he struggles at times. He's not as dominant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has some lulls.
So Ryu, he's had problems pitching on the road this entire season. He's going into maybe the most hostile road environment. And he had problems pitching against the Brewers.
Yeah.
So with that being said...
the Brewers were actually playing very well. We talked about how the momentum was at all-time high going to the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. But yes, he did struggle, and I would cause that for concern against a team that's way better than the Brewers.
Yeah, so the one thing that Ryu has going in his favor, would you say this is a strength or a disadvantage? He hasn't really faced anybody on the Red Sox before. Only JD Martinez has ever really batted against him. So yeah. He's the only one that has more than 3 at-bats against Ryu. He's 2 for 7. Do you think that's an advantage for Ryu or advantage for the Red Sox?
I'm going to give it to the Red Sox just because the fact of the matter is the Red Sox have been hitting so well, they look borderline unstoppable.
I might give that advantage, though, to Ryu because maybe the first time through the lineup, some of the Red Sox hitters don't have the best at-bats because they're filling out the pitcher, getting down their timing and things like that. You know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I might give him the advantage there. I don't know how big of an advantage that is or even if that will make a difference, but it is interesting. So Manny Machado, though, he kind of has a little bit of ownage against David Price. 12 for 41, 5 homers against David Price. And Manny Machado we saw yesterday drive in a few runs, 3 runs. Do you see that as a problem for the Red Sox?
No, I still think the Red Sox have the most momentum out of...
But I mean Manny Machado for David Price. Do you think that's a problem for David Price? 12 for 41 against him with 5 homers against Price and 41 at-bats. 1 homer every at-bats against David Price for Manny.
Well, the thing is I'm going to counter that with every home run Machado is going to hit, there's going to be 2 more home runs by the Red Sox. I mean, that's how good they are right now.
Mm-hmm. Brian Dozier is 9 for 39 with 2 homers against David Price, too.
This is kind of a different David Price, though. This is a 1 win in the postseason David Price.
You can't just say this is a different David Price.
I know it's not. I would definitely put it in consideration as a cautionary tale, but I still think the Red Sox are going to really make Ryu get wild up, though. I think Ryu has more of a challenge ahead of him than Price does.
So Ryu's never pitched in Fenway. He struggles on the road. He goes against maybe the most potent lineup in baseball. It's easy to see why the Red Sox are favored in this game.
Because they're the best team in baseball?
Yeah, but even just if you thought all things were equal, just those stats, that Ryu's never pitched in Fenway. He has problems on the road. He's facing a potent lineup. Yeah. So, do you think though if the Dodgers get blown out in this game, that all confidence in winning the series will be lost?
Oh, a sweep might be almost definite if they lose in a blowout.
Yeah.
But if it's like a close game and the Red Sox hit a walk-off, maybe they're like, okay, we can hang with these guys type of feel. But if it's like 3 or more runs, they win by, the Red Sox do, I'm saying that this game ends in a sweep.
Okay. So, with that being said, did you see JD Martinez turn his right ankle yesterday when he was rounding second base? He remained in the game, but did you see that happen?
It was kind of a tweak, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't that serious. If
he avoided a serious injury. Sounds like he's walking around like he's fine. They thought
he's not going to not play. It's the World Series. He's going to play.
And he's the DH. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, he might play first base if they want him in for the game against the Dodgers.
That's kind of where I was getting to. Is that,
in L.A. is what I was saying.
That's what I was getting to. When the series shifts out west to Los Angeles, will he... He might not be in the lineup anyways.
He's still a potential AL MVP, and you cannot leave that guy on the bench. I know he's not the best fielder in the world, but put him at first base where fielding is not very crucial.
He might be in the outfield, too, just because, like... Playing in the outfield in Boston is hard,
deep
though.
Balls, though.
Okay, but Dodger Stadium playing the outfield is a lot easier of a chore than playing the outfield in Boston, whereas we see
but if he
left field is crazy.
But if his ankle is still nagging him, don't make him go into the outfield where he has to run for fly balls. Make him go to first base where literally all he has to do is stand there and stay on the bag.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Because how often do you hit a liner right to the first base side? That doesn't really happen. Well,
I don't know. I don't know how often he plays first base, to be honest with you.
I'm just saying. Excuse me. I'm just saying that the fact of the matter is, you need him in your lineup.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, give me a prediction for tonight, Jeff. Give me your score, but give me like a paragraph, man. Give me like what you think is going to happen tonight. Like, do you think it'll be over early? Do you think it will be a game that stretches into a bullpen? Do you think the Red Sox will pull away late? What do you think?
I think it's whatever you want me to think.
Come on.
Okay.
Give the people the answers.
I think it's going to be a blowout because Ryu is still struggling at starting pitcher, and he's not very good away, like you said. And I think that's going to come at full head in this game against the best team in baseball, the best hitting team in baseball, in the Red Sox.
Prediction. Score.
9-3.
9-3. Ryu pitches how many innings?
4.
And gives up how many?
6.
6? I don't know if they'll let him get that much. But
well, he'll be like a grand slam or something.
Okay. So you say 9-3?
9-3.
9-3 Boston. So you think it'll be over early, not too exciting of a game. You're telling the people that maybe they should watch basketball or something else tonight.
I'm saying watch the game until it gets out of hand.
So the first inning?
I'm not demoting the show.
So you're saying first inning, maybe?
Okay, the first inning and a half, and if it goes well, keep watching, but that might be where the fun stops after the sadness.
I will say right now that this is the one game in this series that I think is a slam dunk that Boston wins. I just can't imagine Ryu.
I thought you were about to say...
I'm actually going to say this, and I will eat crow if I'm wrong. You won't.
Crow?
You won't be here.
Do I have to go kill a crow and feed it to you?
You won't be here tomorrow to...
I'll feed you the crow on Wednesday.
To point this out, but I will own it if I'm wrong.
Okay, well,
I think
Wednesday,
that Dave Roberts made a huge mistake by picking Ryu to pitch this game and not someone else. I think that Ryu, with him being so much better at home, and you already kind of figured Game 2 was going to be a huge game, I think that he should be pitching Game 3 or Game 4, in my opinion. I know that he likes to keep the rotation similar, but I really think that maybe, I don't know, maybe Rich Hill or someone else, Bueller maybe, should pitch this game. I know that he just pitched, but I don't know. Would you agree with me there, or do you think or do you think I'm kind of making too much of that?
Well, we'll find out tonight, because you're not wrong in the fact that Ryu is not the best pitcher for this situation in Fenway against this hitting onslaught known as the Boston Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a huge mistake. This could be a huge reward. It's one way or the other.
I think Boston wins tonight. My score will be 7-4. I think it'll be a similar game to last night. I think the Dodgers will, their hitting will keep them in, but
yeah, I just don't think Ryu has what it takes to face this team.
I think the Dodgers will be scrappy, get some runs, and make it close, but I think that Boston should win comfortably 7-4. Again, Ryu, I don't even know if he makes it to 4 innings, to be honest with you. I'm going to say he goes 3 innings. He gives up 4 runs, but then they pull him. What about Price?
How about this? He throws 3 pitches and gets pulled.
What about David
have
Price?
You heard, who would put their pitcher in for one
Craig
batter?
Counsell.
Who's that? I'm kidding. Okay. Yeah, Craig Counsell. I'm looking at you, buddy.
So David Price, what do you think his line will be like tonight?
5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run.
1.
Okay, I'll go 2. Go 2.
2.
2. No, 3. 4, 4, 4, 4. 5, 5, 5, 5. No, 2.
You said the score is gonna be 9-3, so he can't give it more than 3 earned runs.
5 hits. Let's go 5 hits, 2 earned runs. That's logical.
Price for me, he'll go 5 2/3. He'll give up 3 runs. Yeah, that's what I think. All right, and the hitter tonight for the Red Sox or Dodgers that will have a very strong game.
I'm going to go with the obvious pick here, and I'm going to go with Mookie Betts.
I thought you were going to go with the Bogarts.
No, I'm going to go Mookie.
Nunez, he was the guy who did it.
He's on the bench. How am I going to say a bench player is going to have a good hitting game if he's not even going to go?
He could start.
He could potentially, but I'm going to go with the best player they have. And AL MVP, most likely, Mookie Betts.
Interesting. I mean,
why is that interesting?
It's not.
Yeah, like it's pretty. It's such a cop out, in my opinion.
I actually think Benintendi is gonna have a big game tonight. Andrew Benintendi.
That's kind of going out of left field.
Get it?
Get it? You got it?
Get it?
Get it?
Get it?
I'll leave now.
All right. Yeah, left-handed batter against left-handed pitcher, though. That is kind of going out in left field, isn't it? So I think Benintendi will have a big game. Look for him to get 2 hits. I will say 2 hits, at least 1 will be extra base hit, 2 RBIs. He's going to be the player to watch for tonight. Maybe he'll make some things happen when he gets on base. But
Mookie Betts is going to hit 4 home runs and break the record.
I'm not going to lie. Mookie Betts is going to be who I was going to pick, but you picked him, so I picked Benintendi. Yeah, I was thinking about JD Martinez too, but with his tweaked ankle, maybe he's a little bit less effective. Who knows?
I was thinking about JD, but I forgot about that ankle part where you were mentioning before.
I just got a little scared.
I wouldn't be scared about it. I think it'll be fine, but I wouldn't put him as like the breakout star of this game.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we have some other baseball news regarding new managers for different teams. A former MLB great who decided to step down from his current role in coaching. We'll talk about that when we return.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Hello once again, and welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We have finished talking about Game 2 preview. We both believe that the Red Sox are going to take this game pretty handily, I guess we both say. And now we're moving on to our final segment, which is anything else in baseball we want to talk about. Is there anything in particular you want to talk about?
Yeah, so Marc McGwire, who has been coaching with the San Diego Padres. He was their bench coach this season. He is actually stepping down as bench coach because he wants to spend more time with his family. He wants to watch his 2 boys play high school baseball. So McGwire lives in...
So he's leaving for good.
He lives in Orange County. He lives in Orange County, so not terribly far from San Diego, but yeah. So he won't be there next year to give his hitting pointers and expertise to the Padres hitters. What do you think about this?
He's been around for a long time and kind of seems unnoticed because he's not like the manager. And overall, I think spending time with your family and watching your kids play baseball, I think he deserves that break because he's been around the coaching staff for multiple teams for a long time now.
He has, like you said, he's spent 3 seasons as a hitting coach of the rival Dodgers. he also was
Cardinals,
the hitting
too.
coach for the Cardinals. But now, he was a bench coach, which usually is a step up, right? Like you go from hitting or pitching coach to bench coach. That usually means you're in line to be a manager. So do you think that takes away from his chances?
I think that he probably talked to the front office and probably like, we don't see you as a manager. And he probably was like, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
At that point, he might have been like, okay, maybe I have a shot being a manager, but then he found out, maybe he realizes maybe I don't have a chance to be a manager, and so why am I here? Mm-hmm. Maybe that was going. That's my theory, at least.
Yeah. So one, new manager of the Los Angeles Angels. We'll stick with the Southern California baseball scene here. Brad Ausmus. He was in the league for many years. He also coached with Detroit. He's now the new Los Angeles Angels manager. He had some interesting things to say about him and his new opportunity to lead a different ball club. But, after if he was let go by the Tigers last season. But he talked about how this last year he has taken a deep dive into baseball analytics. He's looked at metrics. He has looked at things from a different perspective than just feel or experience on the field and things like that. So what do you think about that, about a manager who he got let go and then he took a step back and realized maybe there's other things that I can improve on or learn about? Do you think that's a positive thing for him and maybe for other managers moving forward?
I mean, realizing your flaws is a huge step.
Just gathering information.
Yeah, like admitting you have flaws is a huge step to getting better, because if you don't admit them, then you're in denial, and then you're not going to worry about them, or you're not going to concentrate on those flaws, and then and then those flaws are going to take over you. You know what I mean by that? Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, him realizing his own flaws is very mature, I might add, but also, and saying it publicly too. But also the fact of the matter is, he can be a better manager now, and I feel confident if I'm the guy if I'm any team that has him as a manager, I'd be confident in him.
He said, and I quote, "Adaptability is important to the Angels, and part of the reason I came to the Angels was because I needed to adapt. Analytics are part of the game. I had an understanding of analytics before I got here. I've been using numbers to create scouting reports since about 2000. If you use the numbers to make the players and the teams better, that's the important thing. I wanted to find out more about how we can help players on the field be better, how we can make teams win." So it is cool, in my opinion, to see a manager seek out information. And, because I think the worst thing is when people rest on their laurels a little bit and they're like, because a manager, somebody who's especially had an 18-year career, can easily just say, "Hey, I know how to manage people. I know how to manage baseball games. I was a catcher."
Be stubborn.
Yeah, he can say, "I was a catcher." That's the manager on the field, Yeah. So it is nice to see the Angels. It looks like their front office has been changing in addition to their manager. I mean, they're looking into more modern methods of scouting and things like that. So good for the Angels. I think that's positive. If you're an Angels fan, I would be stoked to be hearing that.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the guy that admits his flaws and knows he wants to improve on himself. Plus, that will help the team, type of thing.
Yeah,
that's a leader right there. Showing your flaws, I got to work on this, this, and this, and then I can help my team win. That's a huge. That's character right there.
Mm-hmm. So, new manager for the Cincinnati Reds, David Buddy Bell.
Buddy.
He is now the manager. He played for the Reds in Cincinnati there during his playing days. Did you hear about this move?
I kind of did. It was rumors around the league, around the baseball world, that is. But this is a good pickup, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything is positive for the Reds at this moment. Is how bad they're struggling.
Yeah. So, David Bell. He becomes the new Reds manager. His family has a history of being in the Reds organization, so we'll see how this works. Yeah, it will be interesting. The Reds, we know they're a downtrodden franchise right now. It wasn't too long ago that they were a playoff team. Just a few years ago. Do you remember those playoff games with Johnny Cueto and?
You mean the one against the Pirates when they chanted Cueto and he laid an egg?
That one. I mean, they had battles with the Giants. The Cincinnati
Where
Reds
they gave up a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, the Reds were a good
three
team for a few years, so we'll see if they can get back.
Well, they were up 2-0 against the Giants and lost 3 at home when they never lost 2 back-to-back games at home that whole season, and they lost 3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
So the team has had good times and bad.
Yeah, so
sorry to bring that up, Reds fans, but hey, you gotta relive the past to embrace the future.
Yeah, so the Reds going back to their roots with the Bell family, of course, a big influence on this organization. So it will be interesting to see if they can get back to what they were before. But we've seen this franchise kind of fallen off the last few years. We've seen
they still have the 1990 World Series victory.
Yeah, we've seen attendance kind of fall for them, but hopefully it'll mean good things. But that's all the news that I have in the world of baseball. Do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Only that I've enjoyed talking about the World Series with you, my friend.
So it'll be great. Take a look at tonight's game. Make sure to catch that as we have World Series going on. Again, it's Ryu, Price, Game 2, 8:09 Eastern Time, first pitch in Fenway Park. It should be a good game. I think we'll see a lot of runs like we did last night. But other than that, I am all set. We will see you back on the baseball podcast next Tuesday, or next Wednesday. I'm sorry, next Wednesday. But of course, we have the whole GSMC podcast network here. We have our football podcast. We have our sports podcast that we do daily. We have our fantasy football podcast. We have our soccer and our basketball podcast as well. So hope to see you guys there. Check us out. Any last words, Jeff?
Buddy! All right, we will see you next Wednesday for the baseball podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.